So, performance debugging. I'm gonna show some tools and some tips. Um, yeah, stuff I used anyway. It can save some time. So I'm gonna talk a bit about the profiler and then some debug flags and also a few tools that we created to help debugging. Personally, I usually just end up using p-traces anyway, but I want to be better at using this, and I think they could have saved me a bunch of time, so I'm gonna show them a bit. So, profiler. The profiler is great for finding like an area of slow code. I'm gonna show an example soon. It gives a lot more information than just a normal p-time or a p-trace. But it can be a lot of data to process. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you an example of what it looks like with the profiler. If oh, that's not supposed to be there. Oh well. So yeah. So I have a little cheat sheet here. So what you need is you need to include oh, this mousepad hates me. Oh, it's not. And then we need to tell the profiler to start. So, and we need to stop and report. So this is gonna give me a report of what takes time when I change view mode. It's just an example. So if CT and change view mode, I should have gotten a report. Oh, it's still working. So here, this is what the profile looks like when you print it. So it'll show you each of the each of the methods that's been called within those start and end. It shows you how many times they were called and how much time it took in total, and for each time it was called. So that's kind of convenient. It can tell you like, oh, so if let's say set view mode as super slow, then I would just look at the one that takes most time, go into it, and then do another profiler inside of it, and it will give me smaller and smaller steps until I find the culprit. So it's a kind of cool thing. And like I said, it's a lot of information, so you can, instead of showing all of it, you can limit it to certain packages. So for example, I could do profiler, and then I can add code. I can do like this, for example, then it's only going to show me the methods inside. Oh. Shit happens. Not the compiler looks out of it. Speaking of performance debugging. So now when I change view mode, I should only see the method from, unless it crashes. Get world info, that's not related at all. Yeah, this is on our dev branch, might be a bad idea. Yeah, anyway, then in this case, it would show you only the methods that was in red, for example, so you can look at only your own extensions until you find what's slow in your extensions. Yes, so let's go ahead. So that's the profiler, and then we have a bunch of flags that are kind of convenient. So we have a load drawing one in CM3 load drawing timer. It's going to give you a report of all of the hooks, all of the loaded ones and loaded zeros for the snappers. And so if a drawing is slow to load, that's the first thing I do anyway. Just enable that flag and then load the drawing, and it's going to give you a report of. Usually, you see what's slow right away. I could show what that looks like. So if we go to core 3, timer. You have this little guy, and if you enable that one, and then load a drawing, let's say my little army here. So it's like 20,000 something scarecrows, somewhat of time. And then I get this report, so it says there's a, oh, that's what I shared my screen, sorry. It's not presenting. No, I guess, yes. So it shows you all of the core side. So these are usually only core stuff, so it shouldn't be, if you're debugging your extensions, it shouldn't be anything under there, but you have your loaded ones and loaded zeros here. So say these, so they are kind of common that you do something in loaded one or loaded zero. It's, oh, never mind, these are the hooks, and then you have loaded zero and loaded one here. So you get the time for each of the one and the total time, and same with the hooks, you get how many time it was called and which packet is in and all that. So if the drawing is slow to load, it's probably one of these two, or yeah, could be something in core, but then then you can just send it to dev support, I guess. So that's it for that flag, and then I go on. Yes, so we have another one in space that I use a lot, and it's no, it's not in space, it's in world. So you have this guy, and it's going to tell you, so if the drawing randomly freezes a lot, it could be that the word flush is low. Most often it's something in core side done, but you can try it, and if it turns out to be the case, you can send it to dev support, and it's probably going to help you a lot faster, since then we know. But it could be something on your extension also, of course. So basically, this one is just going to tell you how much time each of the flush took. So random hangs in a drawing could be because of this. So let's see. Yeah, and it only prints if it's slower than like 50 milliseconds. So unless you have a big drawing loaded, you probably won't see anything at all. But if you have a big drawing, it's going to give you the time. And if it's more than just a few milliseconds, it's too slow. It should be fast. It should be way faster. Yeah. So that, and then we have the, sorry. And in CMcore undo, we have a debug trace undo time. It's also a good one. I use it a lot. So if undo is super slow, you can just enable it and then undo a few snappers, and you'll find which one it is. It doesn't help you. It only tells you the total time, not the split times, or which part of undo is slow. But it's a good place to find where to start, and you can use the profiler from there once you find it. So that's a good one. Go on these, and then tools. We have a bunch of tools that's already made for this, so you don't have to go around the code and add all your P traces and stuff. And the first one I'm going to show is the startup timer. It's a really simple one. It just gives you the startup time of all of the extensions. So it's not really something you would. It's something you could just do every now and then to make sure that the startup time don't grow more and more for your extensions. So it gives you a good summary of the load times, I think. So if I go to, yeah, that's the army. Startup time here. So, and also you need a developer. So you should have this as soon as you have a developer license. You just need to go to extension details and enable developer tools, and you should have this one, the performance tools. And it has the startup time, and then you can see the startup time for each individual extension. So I mean, it shouldn't be. You can have core, for example. I think it's a few milliseconds, 39 milliseconds. I mean, the extension shouldn't be that much more necessarily than core. It's kind of big. So that's a good thing to keep track of. And the response monitor, it's kind of similar to. It's basically predefined traces, so you can set them up, and then you can enable it and disable it in the monitor. instead of going back and forth in the code all the time. I'm going to show you an example of how it works. And there's a bunch of predefined ones already. So load times, insert snapper, and all of those is already defined in core. But it won't tell you like split times. It will only tell you that insert was low, not which part of insert. So I could show you an example of that. I'm going to clear the drawing. Could be kind of slow. So this is the response manager. So from start, I have all of these predefined stuff. So it's like model lab stuff, the insert one, and end drag, start and end drag in animations and all the stuff. So it's quite a few things. So if I insert a snapper now, well, this is open. Oh, and change the tool tab time so you can measure so you don't your tool tabs isn't too slow to open. But if I insert something, it will tell me how much time it took to insert it. This is from when the animation end drag is how much time end drag in the animation took, and then you have validate space for them. That's how much time from the animation started inserting to when background task started working again. So that's a decent measure of how much time the total insert time of the snapper is. Yeah, that's the predefined one, and then you can easily add your own ones. I'm just gonna go ahead and do one. I'm gonna go to my little cheat sheet, and all you need is this line. And if you have questions, by the way, while I'm talking, just ask them, please. Oh. So I'm going to go back to the set view mode one, but in this case, I'm going to use the response monitor and not the profiler. Oops. So I need a start time, so there will be and then I have the monitor one. I still have this guy. And now when I change, oh, maybe I need to restart this guy. Trigger. Makes sense. Yeah, profiler active. I'll just restart them. Yeah, so while this is loading, I could. Oh, did I miss? Oh, sorry. Thank you.
The different tools that you're showing, like is there like a wiki article labeled debugging that just kind of calls out all of these?
As always with configure, we're kind of lacking documentation.
Not always.
Sometimes. Okay, in the past, yes. And these were made in the past world. Yeah, so it's kind of lacking. Maybe there is something on the wiki, I'm not sure, but it's a good request. I'm gonna look into it to make sure we have something for it.
Kind of messed around with some of this.
Yep.
But it's not sure how to use a lot of it. Or
yeah, and like I said from the start, I work in core and I rarely either don't know about them or don't use them enough. So, but I think they're gonna should probably use them more. I think they're gonna save me a bunch of time anyway. So now we're back here, and then I'm gonna open the response monitor. And change this guy, and now now I have this print of the view time in the response monitor, so you can leave a bunch of these in your code, and then you can turn them on and off from here, so they don't add any overhead while they're inactive or while the response monitor is not open. So it's just one bool check, so it's not that bad. So yeah, you can add a few of those, and then if something is slow, you just open this guy, enable all of it, and try to do some stuff, and you're probably gonna get a good report. And another cool thing about this is you can have predefined actions. So I guess that's maybe more for QA, but I think it's kind of nice anyway, even for developers to want to do stuff. So you can say, I want to test freeze and block maybe, create block, and then I can run these both. So first it's gonna freeze it, and then it's gonna make a block of it, and then I get it. I should have got it at the time. Right. Yeah, and I got the time. So this is the freeze time, and then I have the block time somewhere. Yeah, that's why I should have done it the other way around. You're right. Makes sense. Anyway, you can group up whatever actions you want here, and it's gonna show you that how much time each of the action took. So it can save some time.
So is that being called on like the snap where you have selected?
Yes, it works on the selection.
Sure. So if you have multiple things like it,
Yeah. Oh, when I think about it, maybe that's on the whole drawing even. I don't think you need to select. It should be on all of it. And then it has like save and load drawing, and has some predefined paths, so you don't need to bother about those kind of things. Yeah, so that's that one. And then we have the snapper stress test, and it's kind of similar to response monitor with the predefined action, but it's just, it has one kind of test suite and it's run through those. So if you made a new snapper, you can run this on it and see if it's up to par or not, kind of. So it's super simple. All you need to do is set a new snapper. I'm gonna go back to normal. And I have the selection spaces. Yes. Oh, it's not. So that guy, and then I run the selection stress test. It's gonna take a while, but it shouldn't be that bad. So then you get like replicates, semi-load, parts, and a total time, and you can compare it to Fika. So I guess it's somewhat of a good baseline. So as long as you're comparable to Fika, I guess you're good to go. Yeah, so that's that one. Let's go on, and we have the snapper ranking tool. It's kind of similar to the other one, but it's through a dialog. So in the dialog, you're gonna get the 2D time, the 3D, or they get 2D time and they get 3D time, the bound performance, and also parts performance. So it's super simple. Now I have these. I'm gonna make a new drawing just to be safe. The snapper ranking tool. So this tells me that there is quite a lot of 2D lines for one snapper. The bound is slow, but the 2D and 3D is fast, and the part is good enough. So it's also one of those, whenever if you do a new snapper or just want to test it out, you can run this one on your snappers. It's going to give you a decent result or a decent report of the performance. So any questions so far? Just go ahead and ask. I'm going to go ahead. We have the task manager. Task manager is it will give you the idle task, the priority task, how much time they take, their priority sleep time, and how many times they're called. It's also one of those, if you get random hack, this could be because of it could be because of a slow task. So we have this guy here. Oh, never mind, it's that one. It's gonna take a while. Not that one. This one. So you have the task manager. So it will give you the priority task up here and the idle tasks down here. It will tell you, and then like I said, you have the priority time, the sleep time, and average time. And if you're not aware, the difference between the priority task and idle task is that the idle task runs while the animations are active. But yeah, this is going to give you a good overview, and also, I mean, most unless you have a really good reason, there should be an idle task that you add as a non-priority task. So if you have a bunch of stuff that's priority tasks, you're probably good. Think about if they should be idle tasks instead. Yeah, so this one is called a lot, but it's kind of fast. So yeah, it gives you a decent overview. It is single-threaded, yes. So whenever the CT is idle, so no animation is running, it's just going to go ahead and give all of these tasks a piece of time. It's going to tell them that you have, say, 50 milliseconds to do whatever you need, and it has to return within that time. Of course, if it's single-threaded, if the task hangs, it hangs. You can't do anything about it. So then CT is going to hang up or be super slow. So please don't do that in your task. Yeah, that is that. We are, yes, but if it doesn't return, we can't even mark it, I guess, because we. So if it's stuck, it's stuck. So that's really hard to debug. Also, the CT is going to become unresponsive. But you're right. If it gives you a certain amount of tries, if it goes over its slot too many times, we mark it, and then you're gonna get a little red notification bar that says this task is not behaving correctly. But it's only shown in dev right now, I think. I'm not sure we did that, but I think we removed it actually.
Do you remember that in between sessions, like if I close and open? Because let's say that it's stuck.
No, it's per session. It's gonna same thing's gonna happen when you start again.
Yeah. So.
Yep. That's yeah. It's kind of the problem with single threading stuff. If it's stuck, you can't do anything about it. Yeah. So that's that one. Anything more? Any more questions about it? Go ahead, and then since we have a lot of time, I'm just going to go through some things that are not specifically performance debugging, but I think they're really nice tools, so I'm going to show them anyway. So the vessel tracker, or animation tracker was called before. It's a really good one if you're doing animations. So it should be here somewhere. Yeah, that one, yeah. So unless you used it before, it's. Oh yeah, that's not going to help you at all. Yeah, so and what you're going to see in the top is the type of animation. So if you want to find something that's a G2 animation or something, you want an example, then you can try a few of the core stuff, and then you'll see if there are generation 1 or generation 2 here. And you're also going to see all of their active vessels here. So I guess this is both if you're trying to debug or trying to understand how core 1 is built up. Oh, thank you. That's perfect. Yeah. So yeah, you're going to see the vessels here. You can click it and go to the code, like Johan said. So it's both good for debugging your own ones and to try to understand the core ones if you're doing something. Yeah, it's a good tool. Yeah, honestly, I've never used this part, so I'm not sure what it does here, but the animation part is good anyway. Yeah, and then you have the load blacklist. I mean, it's not if you have problem with loads, they're gonna show up here. So red is gonna if something is too slow to change load, I think you get like 4 or 5 tries something, then it's gonna end up here, and then it won't change load anymore. It's locked to whatever it was. So you could keep an eye out for this one if you have slow drawings. It could be a load issue. So, any questions so far?
So for like the log detail thing and some of the other tools, are those based on your machine performance, or are they based on like just benchmarks you guys have defined?
The load one is it's a fixed time you have, I think, but it's kind of generous. It shouldn't be. It should be way faster than the limit we have. Kind of. If it's slower, it's just gonna give you even poorer performance trying to change back and forth. So you're gonna lose from it anyway. So it's better to just keep whatever it is, even though it may not be the lowest.
I was just wondering, as like developers, we might have like beastly machines, but then our users may not have the fanciest machine, so it looks okay on ours, but then when they start using it, they have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This guy is just gonna tell you that it's good enough on this machine.
This is not like just throwing out graphics. It just means it's not gonna like upscale and stuff.
Yeah.
Which on a low-end computer probably a good call anyway.
Yeah.
So if you scale a number. Probably makes sense.
Yeah, and you should probably at least try running a few tests on the same similar user that machine that your users are running anyway, so you know what kind of pain or what kind of performance they get. Yes, you should try. Yeah. So, yeah. Other than so unless there are more questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
It's part of the scope, but let's say we have a couple of tenants together. And I'm want to bring everything up, right? So I'm implementing that in a terrible way.
Mm-hmm.
How would you go about debugging it in terms of, okay, let's try and find the bottleneck?
So you're saying the stretch is low?
Yeah, but I mean, it's my fault because I implemented it.
You could do a profiler, for example, and have a begin started in begin drag and then end it in end drag, and then you get a decent report, and then you can go from there, like going smaller and smaller until you find it. That's one way. And Johan, yeah.
Now when you pointed out the code here before, that basically the first thing you started out with was going around and switching globals everywhere. There is no good way of, if you don't know there's a global somewhere that can go on and off, have a good way, or you could have any plans on moving all those globals to centralized place, or an interface in developer to flip those switches without having to go through the code and look for them and find them.
Yeah, you know what? They're here. I think most of them. So the trace load time is here, and I think in 10.0 the rest of them, all of the ones I've showed is going to be under here in 10.0. I think anyway.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
Trace replicate, rebuild dial, maybe not all of them.
There's quite a few anyway.
The trace was, but
Yep.
Yay.
So.
Where was the profiler find out what package?
CM core runtime. No, CM runtime. Let me check. I think CM runtime debug. I think. CM runtime bug. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm done. Let's resend it.